Welcome back to the Main Beam Podcast, episode 22.
We've made it to 22 episodes. That's
I know.
awesome.
We're in double digits.
Yeah.
We have been in double digits for a while. No, we're in the 20s. So, what is today? Almost
30th.
Yeah, it's the last day of April 30th.
Oh, Alan's calling me.
Oh, no. Yep. Sorry, Alan. He's out for this podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say he's sick today, so
Yeah.
that's why you're hearing beeping right now.
Well, we got
Brady Stockman.
Spencer Mertens.
Adam Weaver.
Nick Locke.
Mr. Nick is in on his first
Yeah.
podcast.
Heck yeah. And then Landen will be in a second. And then we have an awesome guest today, Erik Griffen. Say hello, Erik.
Hello, everybody.
Nice. Awesome.
Heck yeah.
Well, hey, we'll get into it here pretty soon. I know all of us have had some ups and downs in our turkey season so far this year, so we decided to get our minds off of it. We're going to talk about some fish today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Turkey season's absolutely beat us up. It's really beat up Nick.
Yeah.
Let's stop talking about
Him and a string of 15 jakes strutting in and nothing else.
So
but-
we've been on a roll with turkeys for the last couple episodes. So we're going to switch it up this episode, and we're going to talk a little fish. And then I think next episode, if everything just keeps on how it's going, we got a pretty cool guest lined up to talk about some waterfowl stuff and some cooking.
Yeah, but
Chef.
But for now, we have an awesome guest talking about fish. And Erik, you just moved down to Florida, right?
Yes, I just took a job down here in Gainesville, Florida.
Gainesville. Okay, that is. You just got an apartment down there for right now?
Yep.
Awesome. Is that going all right?
Yeah, it's going great. You know, Missouri Tiger alumni down here in Florida, Gator
Nice,
City. It's
nice.
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, and just so you can kind of go into it a little bit, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what are you doing right now down in Florida? Where'd you come from in terms of your college experience as a Mizzou Tiger, the Mizzou Tigers, I should say. Just get into it a little bit, Erik.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I started my, I guess, what you call it, professional career at the University of Missouri, where I pursued a bachelor's in fish and wildlife sciences in the School of Natural Resources there. MIZ.
ZOU, baby. Let's go.
Let's go.
I like it.
Black
I
and
like
gold,
it.
baby.
So I got my bachelor's there, and I knew from a young age that I wanted to be a fisheries biologist. Growing up, we did a lot of fishing, did a lot of hunting as well. But the idea that I could go to work and catch fish, so to speak, for my job and help benefit whatever river or lake in the state and whatever fish species it was, the idea that I could work with them and make a career out of it really excited me.
That's
And
awesome. Well, we appreciate
Even-
your contribution to conservation. That's awesome.
Heck yeah. And
Thank you.
There's obviously some big, I'm sure we'll get into it, but it seems like them southern states like Texas, Florida, they got them big old strain of bass down there. But I'm guessing it's probably pretty different to you coming from Missouri all the way down there and catching, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, are you catching consistently bigger fish down there than what you were up here?
Oh yeah, they dwarf
Eric's,
the
go
the
ahead.
average size bass up here is about what we would consider a trophy in Missouri or Iowa, Illinois, any other Midwestern state.
That's great.
And these fish are they're completely different strain. Now they're their own species, which we can touch on a little bit too.
Go
But
into it.
yeah,
I'm
these
curious.
fish down here are okay. So what we have down here in Florida is called the Florida bass. There's a largemouth bass and there's a Florida bass, and they recently made a split. Rather than it just being like subspecies, it's now its own species.
Florida
So
does
what
like to
we
be
ha-
different, so that makes sense.
I know. So like everywhere else in the United States, like all over the Midwest and the South, the Northeast, everything in the Mississippi and Ohio River and the Great Lakes drainages, all those systems have the largemouth bass. And what we have in Florida is the Florida strain bass. And they're a little bit different genetically. We're going to go into some of the biology stuff here. So harken back to whatever science class you had last. Put the biology cap on and
All right. I like it.
Get you educated.
Here we go.
So these Florida strain bass, they grow bigger. I believe they grow faster. Don't quote me on that, but their growth is just, it's bigger and better. And so these Florida strain bass, what we have down here, they consider it a minimum size for a trophy fish for their like trophy fish program here in Florida is 8 pounds.
Wow.
And
So can you legally bring them to Missouri?
Is the
legally as an American citizen, no, I don't think so.
I think
but
you
if,
can
like,
take the Florida fish out of Florida, but you can't take the Florida out of the fish.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right. I think if
8
like an
pounds.
agency wanted to like stock the fish and spread the genetics, you could do that. But as far as like you personally catching the fish and bringing it, no, I think that's against the law.
Well, they got to catch us.
Yeah. No.
Erik will turn us in. Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. Because you were sending me photos today, and you're like, "This is just a drop in the bucket." And he sent me a photo of like a 4.5 pounder. He's like, "Yeah, we were catching these like left and right."
Yeah, man, it's interesting. I know, like, back in high school, we used to bass fish a bunch on different farm ponds, and whenever we didn't have nothing to do after school. And I think the biggest bass, just between me, Landen, and Max, I mean, I know I've seen Max catch one that was like 8.5, 9. I
That's
think
big fish for up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the biggest one. Well, I'll tell about that one here in a minute. But the biggest one that I've pulled out of just any random lake's only been like 4 pounds. Has been probably the biggest. So where Max caught that bass, that lake. Erik, if you ever come up here, I'd have to let you look at it. The lake was built specifically for trophy bass and was stocked with Texas and Florida strain bass. So it's like a 36-acre private lake, and it's pretty dope. But that's where Max caught that one at.
I don't think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Secret spot. Yeah.
secret.
Because that's
location.
one thing that I noticed down here. The first day I was my first day at work, we went and sampled bass because we sample a lot of the lakes around here for bass. Because we're in the research division, so we get to do a lot of research and sampling with these fish and look at the population numbers and size distribution and whatnot. And first day out, I think we caught like a 5 or 6 pound bass, and I was like, "This is a big fish." Because in Missouri, it's like 5 pounds is that's like the goal. 5 pound bass is a big bass.
Oh yeah.
And down here, we caught one that was like just under 8, or might have been right at 8. And I was like, this is the biggest bass I've ever had in my hands. I think my biggest in Missouri was 6.
Wow.
And we got this 8 pounder, and I was like, this thing's humongous. This might as well be a whale. And my coworker, the other biologist, he looks at me and he's like, dude, that's small. I was like, what do you mean? This thing is huge. I can fit my head into his mouth.
Yeah.
8 pounds is small.
Do you know what the record Florida bass is? And it's all right if you don't. You can do a quick Google search.
I don't know, but I saw a mount fiberglass replica of a 15 pounder.
So bigger than 15 pounds.
I want to say
okay.
Florida's is in the
I think
20s, ain't it?
I can't remember. Might be 18 or something.
Yeah, I
I
think
can't remember. It's big. But
It's got to be
15
riding.
pounder.
Yeah, it's got to be riding that 20 line, I'd say.
I can't remember what it was. They
Is that-
told me.
Is it called a peacock bass?
No,
That's
peacock
different,
backs.
right?
Those
Yeah,
are two different.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're
peacock bass isn't even a bass, actually.
Yeah,
It's,
so-
I think it's a cichlid.
Wow, I'm dumb. All right, I just did a quick Google, and once again, it's a Google search. I got it down at 17.27 pounds was the a valid Florida freshwater fishing record. But
Wow.
that may not be. I mean, heck, I'm sure there's bigger ones out there. Wow, that's crazy. 17 pounds.
So what do you do? What do you do like in your day-to-day job? Like, is it pretty different every day or pretty similar, or what all do you do like throughout an average day?
An average day right now, our field season for the spring is starting to taper off. But when I got here, we were doing a lot of bass sampling. So we're sampling these different lakes to look at the bass population and the size structure of these fish to see how big they are and how many big ones or how many of each different sizes. And then we switched to river sampling, and we have a river down here called the Ocklawaha. And
Wow. Quite
yeah,
a
I know. We got a lot
Say
of
that 3 times.
big names in here. And we'd sample these rivers, and we call it community sampling. And so we would shock the river with our shock boat and collect every fish that we would see to make an assessment of what species are here, how many of them, how big are these fish, how long or how much they weigh, to just get an idea about the species diversity and the number of fish and size of the fish that are present in this river. And this river is unique because Florida doesn't have a lot of reservoirs, being a river that is dammed and then creates a lake, which is the reservoir. They have a lot of natural lakes, kind of the opposite of Missouri. Missouri's got a lot of big reservoirs, not many natural lakes.
And for people that don't know, like, what is a shock boat? What does it do exactly?
That's a good question. So a shock boat is what we use to do electrofishing. And it's probably what a lot of people have seen if they see us sampling. It's a big aluminum boat, kind of like what you'd use for fishing. Big aluminum boat, and we got a rail up on the front, and then these long booms that come out of the front. And they have these little chandelier things with cables or wire coming off. And we have a generator in the boat that produces an electrical charge through those booms, out the chandeliers and into the water. And it produces an electrical current in the water. And that will temporarily stun the fish, so that way we can net the fish and work them up and measure and weigh them. So it's pretty efficient, pretty humane way to sample fish in any given system.
Yeah, I've seen it done. I've never been on the boat while it's being done, but I've watched like people do it. But I always thought it'd be cool to net, do it, shock a lake while net them.
I remember seeing I don't know if you guys watched The Simpsons, but Bart Simpson was fishing with his dad and Homer, and he had stuck like an electric thing in the down, and all the fish came floating up, and everybody I think assumes that they all die, but that's not the case.
No,
right,
just
Eric?
done some. It used to be a big thing around here. People put the old crank telephone wires in the water. I'm not saying my past relatives have done it, but that used to be a good way of collecting fish. You just crank on your.
That's how Adam likes to fish.
You just stick the wires in the water and start cranking, and you got yourself some fish.
There you go, PETA. Get some.
Yeah. No, that's neat. And so what's some of the like interesting stuff you guys have found doing like some of these surveys and stuff? Is there any like outstanding data?
I'm trying to think.
Well, you were talking to us about what was it? Up the reservoir, down the reservoir. There's different sizes of fish. I thought that was interesting research that you guys were currently conducting.
Yeah. So the reservoir, above the reservoir, it's very clear water. Florida has a lot of big springs, kind of like the Ozarks, but instead of being 55 degrees, they're 72 degrees all year. So they're warm.
That's nice.
Damn.
They're not ice cold trout streams.
Got them.
So above the lake, they have a lot of clear water. The fish are a little bit smaller, but we still get big fish. And then we have the lake itself, which is, lake environment, a lot of vegetation, a lot of stones. And then below the lake, it's even more productive. The fish are bigger. This is where we get a lot of the bigger bass in this river. We get some big, we have red breast sunfish, which kind of look like a bluegill. But their chest is about as bright red as Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Kid you not, same color.
That's cool.
And we have
that red
we
dye.
have another son. He's always wearing that big fancy suit, I swear. He's always showing up to the party. And then we have another one called a spotted sunfish or a stump knocker. And we also have red ear, which I know we have red ear in Missouri because I've caught them. And below the reservoir, those fish get pretty big. And we also get American eels. We get striped mullet, which, if you know anything about mullet, they're more of an ocean fish, right?
Yeah.
And so we get some saltwater fish that'll move in and out of the river because it's connected to the St. Johns River, which then flows into the Atlantic. So we get kind of a mix of fish, and then manatees come in. We've seen a couple manatees over the past couple weeks while we're out sampling. So we get a kind of a wide variety, a wide mixture of fish. And then the Ocklawaha River below the reservoir is called Ocklawaha Lake or Rodman Reservoir, whichever you prefer. Whichever is easiest.
I'll remember the
say.
Rodman.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember.
We'll call
that
it
one.
Rodman.
Yeah,
that's
all right.
the easy one,
Yeah.
not the mouthful of letters. And so below the reservoir, they had the Bassmaster Elite Series on the St. Johns River last week. I think it was last week. Yeah. And some of the tournament anglers were going up the river it connects to the St. Johns. So they're going from the St. Johns up the Ocklawaha to catch some of the bigger bass. And we found some of the bigger bass, not, 8-pounders. We found, by Missouri standards, trophy class bass, 3 to 5 pounds, 3 to 6 pounds. And so some of the tournament anglers will come up in there and try to find the big bass in the Ocklawaha River. So we get a wide variety of fish. We've got chain pickerel and redfin pickerel, which are related to pike and muskie. So they look kind of like baby pike. They don't get
They
to
got
be
teeth?
50
No.
inches long.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, they got teeth. They're
Oof.
just kind of like miniature versions. But yeah, it's pretty cool. We get a lot of different fish. Get some big fish here and there, and some nice bass. So it's kind of a cool mixture of stuff.
Neat.
Nice.
Yeah, so you're really just starting your research, obviously, since you just recently moved down to Florida, and you'll probably have
Yeah.
we'll have to
Yeah.
bring you on the podcast later to tell us more about that. But I'm also interested, you had a lot of research that you completed at the University of Missouri. Do you have anything that was like your big piece that you really enjoyed working on when you were finishing up your education?
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about Missouri or Iowa State?
Ooh, you know what? We know some Missouri stuff, so tell us about Iowa State.
All right. So going back to my background, I got a bachelor's at the University of Missouri, and then knowing that to be a fisheries biologist, you need a master's degree. And I knew that even in high school, looking at career prospects. You need a master's degree. It gives you a 1-up, gives you more education, and makes you a better scientist. And so I got a master's position at Iowa State, and a master's degree in fisheries biology requires it's basically a job. A professor advertises that he has this research project with this question that he wants answered. So you apply for that, maybe you'll get the position, and if you get hired, you conduct the research, you collect the data, do the lab work, field work,
And
do
you
the
still pay them for your
statistical
education.
Yeah, they actually paid us.
Oh,
They
no
paid
kidding.
for they gave us a stipend. Yeah, so it was basically a job, but we still had to do a few
Nice.
classes here and there.
Okay.
And so we did the analyses, wrote up annual reports, and then we write our thesis document. And so that's kind of how a master's of science in fisheries biology
Cool.
worked.
And what was your thesis on?
My thesis was about what was it? I should have this on top of my head, but I haven't looked at it for a while.
That's all right.
It was the effects of environmental flows on fish production in regulated rivers in Iowa. Specifically, we were looking at fish production, growth, and larval. They were for larval fish. So fish that are less than 2 weeks old, fresh out of the egg, basically straight out of the cut and ready to rock. Very, very tiny fish. So we wanted to see what kind of environmental factors influenced how many of those fish were produced in a year, what factors influenced their growth, and how did those factors affect what those fish ate. So it's very, very complex, very intricate. Not a lot of people have seen fish that are less than 10 millimeters long.
I mean, yeah, you were showing me photos of microscopic. I mean, we were at the gym. I remember that's when I ran into you again, and
Yeah.
you were showing me photos of these. I mean, they were a very small species.
Yeah, I was gonna say obviously you continue on where you're going, but I mean, how do you even go about catching fish like that fall, or that small, like seine nets
Yeah, kind of like seine nets. Basically it looks like a big windsock. And what we would do is we'd use what's called a ichthyoplankton net, or we'll call it a larval fish toe. That's what we'll call it.
Perfect.
And it's made of very fine mesh, and it's got a ring on the front. It looks like a big windsock essentially, and we would attach that to the side of the boat, hold the boat upstream into the river current, and the water would flow through, and hopefully we'd catch these fish that were that had hatched out of the egg and were drifting in the current, and hopefully we would essentially catch them in our nets. And you can't really see them when you catch them because they're very clear. They look a lot like boogers. They're soft, squishy, and very
like small
very
little
gooey.
jellyfish, like
Yeah,
because you can see right through the fish from what you could see all the organs and everything. What's the term, like translucent or
yeah, they're very translucent, not much to them, very simplistic, very poorly developed.
Gotcha. And what was your sample size?
Small.
It was a smaller sample size. Yeah, the sample size was very small, beyond the 10-millimeter fish. Is that what I'm hearing?
Right.
Gotcha.
Yeah, sample size wasn't super big. Depending on what species we were looking at, we were able to get shad, suckers, and freshwater drum were the main three that we were looking at for the study. And sometimes we were able to get big enough sample sizes to do our analyses, which is great. If you know anything about statistics, small sample sizes cause a lot of issues.
Yeah,
and you want as many as possible. We'd catch them in the net. Couldn't really see what was there, which is kind of disappointing.
Right, you're catching what looks like boogers, so I hear you.
Right, so you take everything from the net, debris, sticks, leaves, throw it in the jar of ethanol, go back to the lab, and then we would pick the fish out of the debris, and my job was to identify these fish at this stage, which is adds even more complex.
Even harder.
Like you can see through the fish. What is it? So what?
No, I don't know.
Yeah, what was the? What did you find from your research then? I guess with that specific study.
So this is going to be very earth-shattering, but a riverine fish needs water flow and increases in water flow to stimulate reproduction and have successful reproduction.
So water flow is vastly important for the health of the fish and species.
Did not to kind of
basically
go ahead. I'll let you finish and I'll ask my question.
Okay, I didn't want to interrupt. So basically, what happens is for species like drum and shad, increases in flow and elevated flow were very beneficial. Species like suckers, water temperature was very important, and then water temperature with like cool water temperature with increased discharge. The interplay between those two factors was very important. So, more flow, good temperature equals successful fish reproduction.
Gotcha. Wow.
To put it simply.
Yeah. No, the question I was going to ask if you've ever done any research stuff with spoonbill. I know Missouri's a big, they release so many spoonbill every year for snagging and stuff, and we do a little bit of, not much snagging, but we'd like to get into it a little more. But I know it's one thing with the dams on the Ozarks and the dam, Truman's Dam and stuff, how a lot of people say they don't spawn, but some people say they do. So I didn't know if you guys did any research on spoonbill at all.
Well, I worked on the Missouri River in undergrad while I was at Mizzou. I worked with the Missouri Department of Conservation on the Missouri River, and we were sampling for pallid sturgeon, young pallid sturgeon,
Very
and
cool.
we would commonly catch baby paddlefish. Some paddlefish were 20 millimeters long. They were at the larval stage, and others,
That's cool.
yeah, they look like sharks.
I'll be damned.
No kidding.
That is neat. So they are spawning on the Missouri.
They were spawning on the Missouri, and throughout the summer, starting from May all the way through August, we would catch them periodically, and we catch them at 1 inch long to 3 inches long to 10 inches long.
Wow.
And so they were spawning successfully, but they were spawning naturally. It's just that in between stage between being a young fish to an adult, I guess they couldn't figure out what was happening.
Yeah, what was going on between them, and it would be tough. I could imagine it'd be tough to monitor that. Like, how do you monitor a fish that's an inch long to. It's not like you can put a collar on it like a deer and track it and stuff. So I'd imagine that's definitely difficult research.
Yeah, you can't even the size of the tags that you would use. Like for fish, you put an incision in the stomach, put a tag in the fish, sew it up, and you'd be fine. But yeah, the size of the tag it'd kill the fish. It'd be way too heavy.
It'd be bigger than the fish. Just sink it. It sinks all the way to the bottom.
Why are all the fish located at one spot in the river?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they would put a rock in their tummy and said swim.
Yeah, they're all in one hole. We don't get it.
Oh, this one. Check the map, Timmy.
What?
I think we're better off just to sell the caviar.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, what did you guys find out with some of the sturgeon stuff? Because I know we've been setting trout lines and stuff on the Missouri before, and different people have been like, "Oh, can't go in there. That's sturgeon breeding grounds," or like they have weird stuff set up for them. I don't know.
So, as far as like collecting pallid sturgeon, we didn't get a lot, but the shovel nose are pretty healthy. They're common. They're prolific.
Yeah.
They're not struggling. A lot of the little babies that we would catch turned out to be shovel nose. I think one in every astronomical number would be a pallid sturgeon. But I think maybe the year that I was there, I think we had one or two that were pallids and the rest were shovel nose.
Very cool. Very cool.
You know, Eric, I'm just curious. So you mentioned that you knew that you wanted to be a biologist of some sort, but definitely a fisheries biologist early on in your life. When did you first have that inclination?
That started at a very young age. You know, a lot of people go through, middle school and high school, and you do all these like interest surveys and see like, oh, you should be you should go into construction. You should be a teacher. You should be an engineer. Everyone that I took, it said
fast food worker.
McDonald's employee.
Fish fillet.
McDonald's. This kid's going places.
But it pointed you in the conservation realm of with fisheries. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't even an interest survey that told me that. It was growing up, I did a lot of hunting and fishing. My dad was a big proponent of that, and I think Mom knew that she was at a loss, that Dad and I were going to be in the woods all the time or on the water, and I think she kind of understood that. She supported it, and he took the rope and ran with it, or took the bubble wand and went down the street, and off we went.
Nice.
And so I enjoyed fishing so much that I was like, I knew that I could make a career out of it. So my dad has a bachelor's in fish and wildlife from the University of Missouri.
There's the connection.
Yeah, that's cool.
Blood runs deep. So I knew early on that this is what I want to do, and I knew that it was possible because my dad had the degree, and I had a close family friend that was a fisheries biologist for the Missouri Department of Conservation. And I always knew that. I think I was probably 6 years old. I said, I'm gonna work for conservation. At the time, I didn't really know there was a distinction between wildlife and fisheries and all the other stuff. Yeah. And I think once I got to, I'd say I was 14, we went to Wisconsin for the first time to fish for muskies in the northwest part of the state. And I caught my first muskie on a fly rod. And I think that really stuck me deep. And, it hooked me for life. Not only just muskie fishing, but
aren't muskies known as like the fish of 1,000 cast?
10,000
or 10,000?
Yeah,
more like 1 million, depending on who you are. Yeah,
Never seen one.
I think
I've never either.
Yeah, I know Floyd. Our uncle goes up and fishes for him every year, and I think he's only ever caught one. And he's like, "What's Floyd, fucking 70?"
70.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's only ever caught one. I think Drake said he caught one too.
He also is the man who makes us go catfishing with dish soap.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Yeah, shout out to Uncle Floyd. But we were setting trout lines one year with Nick on the river, and he said, "Well, boys," he said, I read online that dish soap really works. He said, "I'm going to put these bars of soap on my hooks."
He melted them down and then cut them into
heard of that.
squares and then put his hook through there. And it was like Irish dish soap, because what happened is the gar kept stealing our are goldfish and stuff. And he was told, or he heard from somewhere down south,
we didn't catch a fish that weekend.
No, that these boys would use this dish soap, and like as it slowly dissolved, it let out, I don't know, scent or whatever. And he melted it all down, cut it into squares, and got us hooking it and stuff. And we were on the river literally with tying it on like
kept your hands clean.
Hey, we cleaned up the Mighty Mo a little bit.
We cleaned the river.
That thing was running clear for a week.
But
it's like it says it's not wildlife safe, Uncle Floyd.
Yeah, we didn't catch any fish. So, do you got any research behind using soap for catfish?
I don't really like the catfish, so I would tell you cut shad or cut bluegill or goldfish or chicken livers is one of my
What I'm hearing
channels.
is not dish soap.
Yeah.
Well, propose that.
I've never been like, hey, Dawn dish soap, yo, this is what we're going to use.
Propose
to
that to your boss next time.
Hey, just pour a shit ton of dish soap in the water and you'll catch fish.
Or at least you know where they're not going to be.
Or something. I don't know.
I knew whenever we were with you and he pulled it out, I was like, God.
He still has some, and I'll give it to him. It lasted for like 2 or 3 days because it was still on there when we showed up. There was no fish.
How long did the bar of soap last you in the shower? Hopefully longer than 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, but I mean,
unless you drop it.
Yeah,
You ain't picking that one back up.
Landon's dropping it on purpose.
I ain't dropping it at all.
Especially when Drake's here. Hold on.
Yeah. If the soap drops, I'm getting out dirty.
Yeah, that's funny.
I'm running. I'll leave the shower dirty. I ain't reaching over for it.
No, honestly, we don't got no soap at the house because it's all on the end of a hook on the river. Yeah,
Floyd raided you.
Yeah, I said we got home.
Been able to recover.
I can't do any dishes. I don't have no soap.
I haven't been able to shower in a while. All our soap's on the end of our catfish rods.
Is this why we only have paper plates? Oh my gosh. Well, that's cool. So your first experience was catching a fish of 1 of 10,000. That's a cast, I guess.
I think that's when it really solidified that I want to do this for the rest of my life, and I want to get paid to do that. So I took every opportunity that I could and said, I'm gonna do this by any means necessary within reason. This is what I'm gonna do, and I pretty much blood, sweat, tears, and two near-death experiences later, here I am.
Okay, well, we got to pause there.
As a biologist.
Near death. Give me some of those experiences.
Not one, but two.
As long as it's not super traumatic, go for it.
All right, so we were sampling. I don't know if I can share some of this stuff.
Oh, we want it in full detail.
We got to get all the details.
Did you get attacked by a shark or what?
No. I had a tree pin my chest up against a crossbar on a boat when we were sampling one day.
Holy
shark would have been
cool. Were you underwater or what?
We were sampling on the water. River was flooded.
Yeah, but were you under it?
Yeah, apparently,
he was on the boat.
Guardian Angel had my back that day, apparently.
Yeah. He's meaning he was on the boat, correct?
I was on the boat. There was a big old tree stuck in the net from sampling, which happens when you're pulling a net along the bottom of the Missouri River, and tree was in the net, and I laid down to push it away, and I think the front of the crown of the tree got stuck in the mud, and boat, I guess, slid forward. Tree came up, hit me in the chest, pinned me against the crossbar, and I was like, all right, here we go.
Oh
yeah. And then the tree let go, and I was like,
could have crushed you pretty easy.
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
I was waiting for it. I was waiting to hear it pop. Luckily, I never did.
Dude, the Missouri's wild. Like, we've been out there before.
It's unforgiving.
No, yeah. I say it's dangerous. I mean, we've been on it a lot, through our whole lives, but it never amazes, or it always amazes me the shit you'll see out there. Like, we've just been driving before, and it's like, oh, the water's fine, and all of a sudden a big tree just like emerges out of the water. Like, it's just wild.
Bottom.
Yeah, the bottom's there.
Crazy.
I swear that river's a different river every time you run it.
Yeah, oh yeah, it is.
It's big. The water's fast. It's turbid, so you can't see anything. And the bottom, I think the bottom fluctuates too because it's all sand and silt.
Yep.
And there were a couple of times we were sampling on the river, and all of a sudden, just this massive sized tree, big around as a car, started floating down. It's kind of scary to see something that big moving down a river that's, you know, half a mile wide. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of puts the hair up on your back a little bit. And sometimes I heard stories about guys were sampling. My boss told me that they were going up the river, and all of a sudden this tree just rose right out of the water straight up.
Yep.
It was off of a dike or something like that, just straight up right in front of them, and they almost hit it. Full size tree too.
Oh, we've almost did that before.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing how strong the water is. Like if you even walk like the river for like morels or whatever, and you see the size of trees that wash up on the bank, like it's insane.
Like I don't know if you guys went across it yesterday. Yeah, yesterday after we got all that rain and stuff, all the trash running up and down the river. It was nuts. Like I couldn't imagine getting a boat across it.
Oh yeah, no, there's no way.
I couldn't imagine being like Lewis and Clark and traveling up that
on
thing
a wooden boat,
1803 in a wooden boat, and
You just carved
granted
out
it
of
was a different
tree trunk.
river back then, but
being led by a woman, just crazy.
or
you know she had him whipped into shape.
Yeah, that's right.
or Tom Weckenberg with a 1 horsepower wizard.
Hauling watermelons.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
This old guy that we hunt on, he used to tell us about. He used to take the Missouri in his little canoe or whatever the hell he had with a 1 horsepower. He said, I had a 1 horsepower wizard motor. That's what he said. I hauled watermelons.
What?
That's what he said.
Didn't he haul them down to like the prison and sell them or something?
Yeah,
He sold them
however,
somewhere,
yes,
like-
he'd haul watermelons from his farm or something shit from his farm all the way down to the
I bet they were
penitentiary
good
there.
watermelons too. I
Yeah.
bet you those were delicious.
Well, you could have just floated them.
Yeah, I probably could have.
There's honestly still a race that goes on all the time from Kansas City, I think, all the way to St. Louis by canoe.
Dude, that
There it is.
Oh yeah.
And some people, I mean,
Nothing
they have like team canoes, but some people do it solo, and it's like no breaks.
Well, didn't Coach Redkay and them do that?
Yeah.
It was Redkay, Coach Lukanoff, and
Yeah, and they see how fast they can do it, and they'll do it. And I don't, I guess, have the information in front of me, but it would be like
I think it's like a 3-day thing.
yeah, I was gonna say it takes a couple days, but like
they would go like through the night.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, they'd straight up
Full
paddle
out.
through the night. Well, we've been setting trot lines and shit on the river, and I mean you'll drive the boat past people canoeing it, and there's no way. Like-
No, we're in a 20-foot boat, and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't like being in a 20-foot boat. Certainly would not be in a 10-foot fucking canoe.
No way. Not a chance.
Yeah.
Not the way I canoe. Went on a float trip. I had that thing going backwards, sideways, everything.
upside down
Upside
3 or 4
down.
times.
Yeah.
So that's near death experience 1. What's the second one?
I don't remember that one. We'll save that one for another time.
We can do that. We can do that. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, that's not cool, but I can tell. I can tell that you've had some fun experiences on the water.
It's definitely been definitely a lot more exciting than probably what most people will ever see.
Yeah. What
I guess like sampling and things. Like, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen? Like, any
shocking?
shocking discoveries that's like you didn't expect to find.
3-eyed fish.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know. I've seen a lot of cool stuff. I'm trying to think here.
I can just think of like that episode. Is it Jackass where they're all on the golf course and they haul out a fish and it has like it was a fake fish and it has like a big old dick on it.
Yeah, that is Jackass. I'm pretty sure.
He's like, it's in my mouth. I suppose you probably haven't come across that one though.
I've never seen that fish before, but you might need to start doing some testing on the water if we catch fish like that. Like, I think there's something going on.
I think this was I want to say it was last year because I remember we laughed our ass off. Didn't someone catch a big catfish and it was like news headlines? They caught a big old flathead or blue cat or something and didn't it have a big ass dildo or vibrator or something in it that it ate.
What?
I swear to
I
God,
wouldn't be
I'll look it up.
surprised.
I'll look it up after this. But I remember they cut it open and it was in its stomach, and it like made news. It made news headlines.
I'd never seen that.
It was giving that other fish a blowy. And
Yeah,
took it right off.
I'll show you after.
Uncle Floyd hears this podcast. Next thing you know, we'll be putting vibrators on the end of it.
Cirilla's in town. Cirilla's in town's gonna
Hey,
be
we'd
sold
probably
out.
have better luck. We'd have better luck with the motion.
Yeah.
This
You
Vibrators
might
and
like
soap.
that vibration.
Yeah, maybe he needs to rub the soap on the dildo and then put it on the fucking water.
Oh my god. Honestly, you might catch one.
Maybe you guys should test that.
Yeah, run that past your buddies down in Florida.
I don't think I can put that on the company card. Like, oh, we're gonna order 15. We're gonna order 100 dodos for 100 fish and see what the catch efficiency is.
He's like, "Damn it! I told you to order the one with glitter in it." You need
We'll get different
you need the
colored ones,
sparkle.
different sizes.
The chartreuse one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might go back to college. Well, that would be my thesis.
Uncle Floyd would be a part of the study.
Yeah.
He'd like to.
What? Oh, we got off track there. But what's the
Really?
biggest? Yeah, a little bit. No, what's the biggest fish you've had come up while shocking them or taking samples?
Biggest fish. I'm trying to think. We had a 43-inch muskie one time,
Ooh, man.
and that might be one of the coolest things we've ever caught. It was
You got a photo
we're
of that? You
sampling
should send it to me.
He's like, no,
We,
I got to mount it on my wall. And
Yeah,
I kept it.
exactly.
Yeah, I told the DNR not to worry about it. Just don't worry about this one.
We never found this one.
We were sampling at night for another buddy of mine who was also a grad student at Iowa State, and he was doing a project on muskie and walleye. And the best time to shock for these fish is at night because they move up shallow to feed or spawn. And it was like, I don't know, 11 o'clock at night, dark and cold. And we do it in the fall and the spring when it's freezing ass cold in the water and outside. And so we were shocking and hadn't seen a whole lot. And all of a sudden, this big old fish jumps right out of the water. Because muskies go nuts when you hit them with electricity. Imagine that. Bluegill and bass just kind of turn upside down. Muskies, it's like you stuck an electric prod on them. Literally, they just go berserk. And this fish jumps straight out of the water. And when you get a muskie in the boat when you're sampling, it's kind of a goat rope because they're just insane. And so the fish came up, went back down, and my buddy tried to net him, and he didn't get him. I just stuck my net to the bottom of right into the water, I don't know, a couple feet deep. And I was like, I don't know if I got him. I hope to God I have him. And I pulled up my net, and his head's in the net. And I yelled at my buddy, put your net on the back end of the fish so that we could sandwich and pull them up. Because our nets aren't deep enough to fit a 43-inch beast, right? So I was like, all right, sandwich them together. And we're yelling and screaming at each other. We look like a bunch of girls. And pulled the fish out, put them in the tank, and measured it. And it was like 43 inches. I don't know how many pounds it was, but
Wow.
definitely one of the bigger fish that I've sampled. And it was probably one of the crazier fish that I've ever caught sampling that I can think of right now.
Do you guys tag any of those fish or
Yeah,
band
we were
them or whatever that's called
we were,
with fish?
We were tagging them. They're doing an escapement study in a couple of the reservoirs. So muskies and walleye are, kind of a riverine fish. And when the lake level comes up, they would go over the dam of these reservoirs and into the creek that below the lake. And some would survive, but a lot of them would die because it's just not a good environment for them below the dam.
How long do the trackers last in the fish? Like if you were to put one in, and like how long of data would you be able to track?
They were using data for this project from 4 or 5 years previously, so they last a good bit depending on what kind of tag you get.
I think it's
So-
kind of the same thing as like the waterfowl and stuff, to where I think they put a tag in their lip, correct, and then like a little wire or something in their back that might detect a little bit more movement and
Really?
their paths and stuff than
Yeah, I was gonna say I know it's kind of dependent on just where. A lot of it, I think, is dependent on like how active it is, and I know some of them I don't know if they pull them out, but I know some of them last a lot longer than others. Just over the studies that I've looked at.
Like I know Justin or even Drake, he's caught a tagged walleye before. Justin just caught one up at Nottoway.
Really?
They had to send the wire in or something for information to get it from, but they also got the lip tag that had the same numbers like you see on the spoonbill or on the goose or something.
So you get to keep that one, I guess, or
you get to keep them both, but I think with the wire you have to send it in.
And they send it back.
And they send back the information as to where it all went and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
so I think there was
more than I would.
That's cool.
MDC posted not too long ago. I think there was a spoonbill they tagged on Truman, and someone ended up snagging it down on the lake. Like it had come through Truman Dam, got into the lake, and was.
Jeremy Stockman actually he caught one that was banded on the Lake of the Ozarks in St. Thomas.
No shit.
Yeah, wow. That is cool.
Holy.
Yep.
Damn, that's a long way to travel.
Yes, a very long ways.
Damn, so it got it would have got through the
And it wasn't a very old fish either. It was I don't remember how. I'd have to ask him, but it was not a very old fish.
Yeah, it would have got all the way through Bagnall and then went all the way down through the lock and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool.
Wait, so that fish was tagged in Lake of the Ozarks and they caught it in the Osage?
In the Osage River, yes.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And it was a barely legal fish at that time. It was not a very old fish.
I'll be damned.
Which I wouldn't think that. I mean, I don't know of any banding studies, especially for spoonbill on the Osage, but
yeah, I don't think they're doing anything right now.
I don't know. I don't know anything about that stuff, but it was just very cool that it obviously had to come through the dam. But I know with waterfowl, because I'm a waterfowl hunter, but I know there is mess ups in that kind of stuff here and there, whether it be male or female or gender, or obviously male and female or gender, but
maybe like
gender,
maybe
breed,
like the fish
whatever.
changes, midway through it changes gender or something.
You never know.
Decides to be an it.
But there is sometimes misinformation that is just wrote down wrong or whatever.
Yeah, outliers and weird shit.
Yeah. So like that could have been something that happened, but his fish was tagged in the Lake of the Ozarks, but he caught it in the Ozarks.
Or the Osage,
Osage,
yeah.
I believe it. We've been fishing below Bagnall like plenty of times when they're running water, and the crappie will sit in like little schools just out of the current, and you can just smoke them. And your limit's 30 down there, so I mean you can just hammer them. And every time you look over, here comes another big spoonbill where they've come through the dam.
Huh.
So spoonbill though, whenever some of them come through the dam, they bust their bill off. If they do bust their bill off, is there a pretty high mortality rate on them? Because I know they'll take that bill and get it in the mud,
below 54,
get in the mud and get up plankton and stuff. Or do they still survive pretty?
I don't know a whole lot about spoonbill or paddlefish. I know that when they come through the dam, mortality is a very high risk.
Right.
That's one thing that they get worried about is the trauma from the dams. I don't know what happens to them when they have their
another
technical
study.
terms.
Tell your boss you guys need to bust half the bills off of them and then test them.
Yeah, I know I've seen a lot of just in the group on Facebook. There's quite a few people that catch them with broken bills that have and they look like they've had them for several years. So I don't know.
I'm sure they survive.
Yeah,
I think I've seen 3, and every single one of them completely.
Yeah, it's all it's all healed over.
Completely healed over. It looked like it had been like that for a while, but
they're almost you could mistake them for a big-headed carp.
Yeah, but all of them have also been directly below Bagnall. They're below 50 bridge or 54 bridge.
Yeah. Eric, let me ask you: have you guys obviously now that you're down in Florida, you may not have, but could you remember any research done with the Asian carp around here?
There was a biologist that worked with USGS. His name was Dwayne Chapman. I don't know if he still works for USGS or maybe he retired, but he was the leading expert on the Asian carp
Really?
Stuff. And when I was at Iowa State, and they're still doing it, they're doing a lot of like movement studies on Asian carp in the rivers in Iowa. Because Iowa is, I guess, designated as the invasion front for the Asian carp on the Mississippi.
Yeah.
Invasive carp, I guess, is the politically correct term. But Iowa's like the northern edge, where they see a lot of them encroaching. And they're doing a lot of movement studies on major tributaries in Iowa on the Mississippi. And they've also done some diet studies on the Mississippi itself and some occupancy and detection in the river to see what factors influence the carp occupying a certain habitat compared to native fish.
Yeah.
And what they're finding is these carp, one of my buddies, he tagged a fish in Iowa on the Des Moines, and the fish went down through, I think, St. Louis, and then went west up towards like Jeff City.
Really?
Well, tell that fish to get out of here.
And he did that in less than a month.
Oh,
holy!
Tell him to bite our soap.
Yeah.
Probably smelled your soap.
He came running, man.
That might be the key, is to catch Asian or catch invasive carp, is to use soap.
Yeah,
maybe that's
they like to suck on it.
Try.
I know just from when we were kids, we were shooting them with bows just down below the house when we were kids. But it seems like anymore, it's like we used to shoot them when they were real big, and now it's like anymore they're all like small.
Yeah,
it's like
I don't
they're
know
all
if
like
there's gotten to be so many of them, they're starting to like stun
themselves almost.
That's exactly what's happened. Is what they're finding is the fish in the Missouri are not as big as what they were a long time ago.
Yes, I believe
and
that.
we see that. So then, when I was in Iowa, I got more exposure to the invasive carp studies in Iowa than I did in Missouri. But in Iowa, the Des Moines has a lot of the big-headed silver carp.
Yeah,
because some of the other rivers, like I think the Cedar and the Iowa, had fewer fish. The fish in the Des Moines were small compared to the Cedar and the Iowa, and it was harder to catch fish because I helped sample a time or two on the rivers, and the fish in the Iowa and the Cedar were significantly bigger, and they're harder to catch, so they were lower densities of these fish. So essentially, like what you said, you're seeing smaller fish on the Missouri. It's because their densities are getting very high and essentially eating themselves out of house and home. They're competing for the zooplankton, not enough zooplankton to go around for every fish. So they're not getting as big, which shows their densities are very high.
Yeah.
Which isn't good.
Yeah, no, not at all. I know especially MDC around here has done, I'd have to look up some studies, but I know they were worried about like their effects on spoonbill, like
right,
because they both are microplankton feeders, and so I'd have to look a little more into that. But yeah, I know just from what we've noticed, it's like, well, they're getting small enough anymore to where we've caught 60, 70 pound catfish that have big full-grown Asian carp in their stuck inside of them,
stuck in their throat
that they're eating,
or the tail still
cool.
sticking out.
Yeah, another thing is so they compete with the spoonbill, and they also compete with like buffalo and gizzard shad, and they also compete with a lot of larval stages of fish. It's like the fish that I studied, the little teeny tiny things that are very newborn, newly hatched fish. They eat primarily zooplankton. And so when those carp go in there and eat all the zooplankton up, they're competing with these native fish at the larval stage. So, if these, say like little white bass or little drum or little minnows cannot get food, then, they're not going to be able to recruit and grow into big adults that we can catch. So, they ruin multiple life stages of the native fish in whatever system they're in, causing a complete collapse, and is what you can see in some of these, like the Illinois River and parts of the Missouri and Mississippi. They completely take over some systems.
An overpopulation of Asian carp.
right?
Yeah.
If only they tasted good, then
yeah,
it wouldn't be as big of an issue.
They are fun to shoot, though.
We need to invent like we need to invent like a. I shouldn't even say it. Such a bad joke. I was gonna say we need to invent like a bomb that takes care of.
That's so bad.
Asian carp.
That's so.
You need to create some kind of soap that attacks just invasive carp.
We need a soap bomb.
We need to clean them carp up.
I thought Brady was getting at Oppenheimer or something.
No, yeah. Hey, and I will say we've eaten Asian carp before.
It's not that
dude.
bad.
It's aside from like their nasty.
It's white meat.
Yeah, it's white meat. Like if you can get around like the bones in there, it literally is like good white meat.
The worst part's cleaning them.
Yeah,
They
they're just
stink,
disgusting.
Disgusting.
Their
but
guts are all black and disgusting.
yeah.
I did have a buddy in grad school. He was the technician for the lab. He caught a carp, or I think he shot the carp, and he brined it in salt water to try to get any nasty stuff out of the fillet, cut out the red meat, and then he made a fish dip out of it. He coated it in rub, smoked it, and then made a fish dip out of it. And it didn't taste too bad. Obviously, if God, wanted us to eat a fish, it's why he created walleye, crappie, and bluegill.
Yeah,
He
right.
created Asian
That's
carp,
right.
That's my theory, but
Yeah. So I got another question for you. Since you've been in the fishing world for most of your life and do it as a job now, how much time do you actually get to go out and fish like yourself for like recreation and hobby?
since I moved to Florida, I haven't been able to fish very often, or I haven't been able to fish at all because, Missouri, you can fish just about any river in the state for, bass, trout, whatever. Yeah. But in Florida, you got to have a boat to fish everywhere or fish anywhere. But before I moved here, I'd fish as much as I could. In grad school, I would try to fish almost every weekend. In college, I didn't get to fish a lot when school was in session, but when we had, Christmas, Thanksgiving, summer break, spring break, I devoted all that to, we'd take fishing trips. We'd go to the White River in Arkansas and fish for big browns. In the summer, we'd go to Wisconsin, fish for muskies, and then we'd fish lakes and rivers around Missouri for, trout, muskie, smallmouth bass, fish ponds for largemouth and bluegill. So I would do it as much as I could, along with hunting as well. But I would try to fish as much as I could and as often as I could.
Yeah, very cool. What smallmouth fishing, something I've always wanted. I've always wanted to go up to some of the northern states and catch some big old smallies. I feel like that'd be so cool.
That's what Floyd likes. I mean,
yeah.
He's caught
fun.
Yeah,
he's caught a 6-pounder up in.
Yeah,
That's
whatever.
a good smallie.
He goes with some guide up there, and they do well every year.
Actually, I forget exactly where they were, but the same time he was there, this guide service run like 2 different boats.
Yeah,
and the other guy caught. I think it was a potential state record. Somebody weighed like 8 point.
Yeah, it was
some pounds.
It was giant.
He's got a picture of it. And he was all excited about it. But
yeah, I always thought
smallmouth
cool
are fun. They're definitely fun. They fight hard. Like a 12-inch smallmouth will fight harder than an 18-inch trout any day.
100%.
Yeah.
And they're pretty plentiful. They're not super hard to catch if the water's warm enough or depending on what time of the year, but they're really fun and they're aggressive, and top water's really fun with them. It's also fun to throw subsurface baits and watch them destroy those in clear rivers. So they're a really cool fish, and they get really pretty paint jobs too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll have to go down to Table Rock. Have Jacob take us around.
He catch quite a few good ones on there. Yeah, I'd like to try it for sure.
The place I've ever caught them is down on the Gasconade, and that's fun. We'll
Yeah.
just throw small crankbaits, and we've never. I think the biggest one I've ever caught is like 3 pounds, which is still.
Oh, for Gasconade's a good fish.
Well,
yeah,
that's
real
a good
fish.
smallie.
Yeah, that's a good smallmouth, and
You can catch them on
sitting
the
in
Osage too.
yeah, I've caught a few on the Osage, but sitting in a kayak reeling in a 3-pound smallmouth on an ultralight.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Hard to beat.
beer, on
That
the
is
other
hard to
hand.
Between your legs, you can't. I can't. I don't know about you, but I can't reel in a fish and have a beer in my hand at the same time. not to brag, but I think I'm a hell of a lot better beer drinker than you are, Landon.
You definitely are.
Absolutely. Wait, where's our...
Can handle it better.
Good job, Nick. Good job.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
Well, Eric, we don't want to take up all your time this evening, brother, but we really do appreciate you coming on this evening.
Yeah,
and,
thank you so much.
Telling us a little bit about some fish.
Eric, I got a question for you.
Yeah. What is it?
Before we get off here, tell us what is the biggest fish you've ever personally caught yourself?
Biggest fish?
Bass,
Like-
specify.
Sure.
Biggest fish I've ever caught is, well, let's see here. Got a 37.5-inch muskie, and I've caught that 2 different times. I caught it northern Wisconsin several years ago on the fly, and then I caught another 37.5-inch muskie in East Tennessee
Wow.
last December.
Damn.
That's
So-
a big fish.
What's your biggest bass?
Biggest bass, like a 6-pound largemouth out of a farm pond, actually in Ashland, his buddy's farm pond.
Oh, yeah.
And then smallmouth, biggest smallmouth was 20 inches out of a river in Iowa. Caught that one on the fly as well.
Very cool.
Yeah,
That's
Eric's
very
a
cool.
big fly. I mean, that's all. That's pretty much all you do, right?
Yeah, I love the fly fish. That's my technique of choice. But I can still use a spinning rod when I need to. But fly fishing, I don't know. Fly fishing is what I enjoy.
I tell you what I always thought would be cool is tarpon on a fly.
Oh,
Tarpon
I got
on a
those
fly.
down in
Dude, that's
Florida.
a dream.
yeah.
Tarpon on a fly would be wild.
Yeah, you have to get it done there, Eric.
I like to fish with a bow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My shock boat. That's
Yeah.
me. You know.
I just like scooping them up.
No, I like bow fishing a lot. We've done it a lot, but we're big hunters, and I mean, my dad's the older he's gotten, he's way more into fishing than anything. Catches a lot of fish. I don't make as much time as I should probably for fishing, but I do enjoy some bow fishing.
Yeah. I think fishing, to me, it's a little more accessible because the water is typically more public than land.
Yeah.
And to go deer hunting, a lot of public land gets pressured if you're close to a big city, and trying to get permission is almost impossible. And fishing, I can grab my rod, my bag, my boots, and off I go. I don't have to worry about it.
No,
Exactly. Hey,
absolutely.
no one talks about fishing pressured fish. We talk about hunting pressured whitetail, but not fishing pressured fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
No, but Eric,
sometimes you can go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, fishing pressured fish is I try to find the places out in the middle of nowhere that nobody goes. But being a fly fisherman, it gives me an advantage. Like when I was in Iowa, I got to Iowa, and they all laughed at me and they said, "Oh, you got that hippie stick? Put that
Hippie
thing away."
stick.
These are big cast here." I said, "Hold your tongue there, boy. You don't know who you're talking to." So I used a fly rod, and I think that gave me an advantage because these fish were seeing things that they probably had never seen before. Like,
point.
what the hell's this bucktail thing with feathers and flashy stuff?
Looks
What's this hippie
delicious.
stick thing?
Hey,
I'm gonna kill it. So they did, and I caught more big smallmouth and more big pike than a lot of my buddies that were using the standard jerk baits, swim baits, Ned rigs, and whatnot. So I was more successful. So as far as fish that all they see is conventional tackle, pressured fish anyway, I think the fly gives you a little bit of an advantage because they're not used to seeing something move maybe more natural, I guess you could say.
Little pro tip there for you.
There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, Eric, dude, we really
It
appreciate
might
you
work
coming
better
on.
than soap. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. Just
Let's hope. Let's hope. Well, we really appreciate you coming on, and it sounds like the next time you're in town, you'll probably have a few more stories for us and a ton more research. So we'd love to have you in person next time if that's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be cool.
Let us know what you find out about the soap when you get in town.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put that in the budget. I'll see if we can get a proposal and a grant for that. See, we'll do a research study on soap and fish catchability.
Yes, I have a feeling that Floyd will have some more rigged up this year, so we'll also add our data to yours.
It's probably not going to go.
That's good
we'll
for your
work with
sample
him on the
size,
study
right?
Design, and he can be the supplier.
Perfect.
Our sample size will be 0. No fish. So
What are the results?
Yeah.
We have none.
we conducted a 10-year long study and 0. No
You
fish.
pull up and there's just some old river rat out there scrubbing himself with your soap.
I'd go in one time when he put soap on his trot line and go catch like a big 60, 70 pounder and just go at night and motor in and just hook it on his soap.
We found significant bias in some of our sites. I'm not sure how we're going to write the results for these, but
That's funny.
knowing my luck, we probably put a whole trot line of them. The river will drop 3 feet, and some redneck's going to be out there scrubbing his armpits with them, thinking, "Oh, I thought these were here for us to use." No, we were conducting a
The
fishing
Lord sent
study.
soap.
I'm just gonna go get a
shower.
shower. I'm just gonna go get a shower towel and hook on the end of it.
But all right, Eric, brother, we do appreciate you coming on tonight and talking a little fishing.
Thanks for
with
having
us.
me.
Absolutely, you're welcome anytime. And let us know when you're in town. We'd love to have you in person, and we'll tell a couple more stories. Maybe talk a little deer hunting.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah,
I got
and
plenty of stories that we didn't even tap into.
hopefully-
I'll probably have a whole bunch more by then as well.
No more close to death experiences though.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I'm not planning on those. Those are done. I'm 25. I need to not be as risky.
That's right.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go ahead and wrap this one up, I guess, if anyone got any closing thoughts.
No, just thanks to our sponsor, HLRBO.
Yep.
Yep.
Shout out to them. I don't think they have any fish leases.
Yeah.
No
No
fish
fish leases.
Might have to introduce it.
Yeah, we'll have to get a few lakes on there.
This is Yep. Big shout out to HLRBO, our title sponsor. They do a lot for us. And if anyone's looking for deer leases or turkey leases, it's running right around that time to start thinking about deer hunting as turkey season closes. So don't forget to check out them, HLRBO.com. And Lowdown Game Viewers. It's about time to get trail cameras out, dude.
We're excited to use those.
Dude, I've seen some people getting some pictures of some velvet bucks already with nubs and stuff.
Some big deer.
You can view your deer pictures, but no fish finder.
Yep.
Yeah,
Not a fish finder.
Not yet.
Not.
So awesome. Well, Eric, again, we appreciate you, buddy. And as always, wrap your tag around the main beam. Peace.